Valor Magazine, sitting down with Arron Barnes of Life Butta. How you doing, man?
I'm fabulous. Yourself?
Doing well, thank you, thank you. So I figured we would get the viewers to learn a little bit about you, learn a little bit about Life Butta and what you're doing after your military service. What branch of the military did you join and when did you join?
Army. I joined the Army basically right out of high school. 1989. Excuse me. Yeah, 89. 1989. And I basically wound up doing 10 years. I mean, a branch of service, you talk about the camaraderie. So, I mean, I did have a lot of fun. And of course, there was some downside to it, right? It's a big organization. They're managing a lot of people. And, you don't get any like one-on-one preference. You get shoved in, you're a number. But all in all, and overall, I had a great time, met a lot of great people. You start to factor in things when you can't make all the decisions that you want for your own life, right? Because you're working for them. And it comes with the territory. I signed up willingly, knew exactly what I was getting. Well, I knew some of what I was getting into, right? You don't know all of it until you get there and you start serving. But yeah, it served me well. And at one point I just figured, hey, you know what? I need to move on and do some other things. And 9 years plus in, well, actually I made the decision around 6 years, but then I was finishing out my last enlistment and said, I'm gonna hang it up.
So tell me about transitioning out of the Army into civilian life. Did you have any problems? Did you have any hiccups? Was it tough for you to transition from that regimented lifestyle to civilian life?
In a way it was. So I'll tell you how I usually deal with things. So a year or two prior to me getting out, that process started running through my mind. Oh, what are you gonna do? Get out, So one thing that really stuck out in my head during that last year, I had a buddy of mine I went to high school with. We had talked about joining together, right? And it didn't happen that way. I had already joined and he was kind of lollygagging, doing some other things. And I had decided in the 6th grade I was going to do this, and I'm doing it. And so I wound up leaving. And what was interesting for me is during that last year, that same guy, like 2 years later, prior to me getting ready to get out, he was trying to get into the military. And I just remember thinking about that, right? I know people who are currently trying to get in, and I'm actually getting out. Do you really want to do this? And again, I thought about it long and hard. So I said, yeah, I'm getting out. It's time for me to go. But at the same time, I'm thinking about other people. And it's kind of like that whole thing. If you have something, doesn't mean as much to you, and then somebody else see it shining, and then you're like, oh, it shines more to me now, I want it back, right? So I kind of had that struggle going on. And I knew it would be some, transitioning over to civilian life. However, it wasn't as difficult for me because I went into Telecom when I joined the military. So me transitioning out at that time, around 2000, well, it was 1999, but .com was hot. So that in itself made it a lot easier for me. And then getting to the organization that I got to and was working at, there was quite a few veterans there. So you get to share in those crazy war stories, right? Your military background. And so in that as well, made it a bit easier for me. So when people understand where you came from and some of the things you have to do, it just makes being in that space a lot easier.
So you transitioned from the Army into Telecom. How long did you do that for?
Army was 10, and then once I got out into the corporate world, that was 13 and a half years, exactly. And that was it's funny, so I started at one company, I was there 14 months, found out I was underpaid severely, and there was a new startup in the area. They were like 9 months old, put my resume out, got a hit from them. So then I wound up going over to that company, got a nice pay increase, almost $1,000 a month, like I'm leaving. And so I worked there for 10 and a half years. And then I went back to the other company for almost 2 years before I left there.
Life Butta, you've got this company, you're an entrepreneur with this company. What in your life sort of guided you down this path of entrepreneurship?
Well, while I was still in Telecom, I had stomach issues. I had IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. They diagnosed me while I was in the military. I knew nothing about it. I was just thrown into a bucket of people who have stomach issues. Well, had a flare up at work one night, and I Googled home remedies for IBS. One of the links basically said juicing would help, and so I had a juice already, wasn't really using it. The next day I started juicing, and that changed pretty much everything for me. So I went about 2-3 months straight, and I noticed severe changes in my health. My sleeping was much better. My nails were growing like crazy. I felt better, less stressed. And so another month or two, my daughter, she had eczema patches on her arm, and I noticed they had cleared up. She showed me one day, and I said, wow. So what that basically told me at that point was that, we're vitamin and nutrition deprived, hence the standard American diet. So from that point, I said, hey, who else is doing this out here in the area? Did some Google search, and I said, hey, I need to be selling this. People can use this. So I went out and bought a little Ford Ranger. I went out and bought a cart, basically, or a trailer, and had it outfitted as a cart, and had them both wrapped. Website, started doing farmers markets, events. And then I noticed, hey, this is kind of a niche product because you're spending like $6 for a bottle of juice. Everybody's not doing that. And so what I did was I started doing delivery service to particular clients who I knew could afford it and saw the benefit of it. Well, I did that for about 3.5 years. And I kind of felt like I was Superman because of the simple fact I was able to get off the medication that they had originally prescribed me while I was in the military, which was Bentyl. Hated taking it. And so I'm off the medication, I'm Superman, and then 3 years of running a juice company, I get Candida, which is an overgrowth of the bad bacteria in your gut. I had been consuming way too much sugar. And by this time I'm actually out of my telecom job. I started the juice company, and 8-9 months later, I walked away from the telecom job. So I'm doing my juice thing, get sick again with Candida. And so Candida led me to create Life Butta. And what that consisted of, an overgrowth of the bad bacteria in the gut can lead to cancer and some other things. And so, yeah, I was quite scared at the time. And so doing all the research on the internet, make these changes to my diet. So I'm eating like chicken, turkey, fish, clean protein, vegetables, and nuts. And literally just tired of eating dry almonds and dry walnuts. I started taking almond butter and would blend superfoods in there: chia seed, flaxseed, hemp seed, pumpkin seed. I wasn't putting coconut sugar at the time. I was using stevia and sea salt, and I would literally sit and eat like a 16-ounce jar of that a day to help actually gain weight again, because I lost quite a bit of weight when I changed my diet. And those superfoods help boost the immune system, so I figured I was doing myself a huge favor. And I continued making it and eating it, and I got to the rendition that I actually make now. And the wife tasted it, said it tasted pretty good. I put sample cups in my juice delivery bag for my clients. They loved it as well. And one young lady said, hey, this is delicious, when can I buy it? And so I said, okay, well, here we go again. So I started the juice based on IPS. And so now I'm going to do this other company based around this whole Candida thing that I just suffered from, because I did research and found the numbers that there were other people, of course, suffering from Candida, which falls under autoimmune disease that affects 23.5 million Americans. So research. Then I get out here and I see that there is, there's kind of a niche market for it. A lot of females love it. So what we come to is taste. I was forced. The whole juicing thing, I didn't start juicing and start that company by choice. This whole Life Butta thing wasn't by choice. I had health issues based around eating standard American diet, which is where we find ourselves today. So many people are sick. And then we try these various different types of diets that come out that don't really work. And what I've come to understand is that it's a lifestyle change. The way you live, meaning your day in and day out, not some 6-month or 1 year type thing that you're going to do to try to rectify the situation. Because if you do something temporarily, guess what? Whatever you were doing before, it's coming back to visit you. So it's just making permanent changes and making it your lifestyle is what I found really pays dividends. And so currently with Life Butta now, I just reached out, got a co-packer, and I should be getting my first run here in the next week and a half. And the website's up. Actually, I'm going to be doing some pre-sales here very shortly. I'm going to be setting that up on the website, but I'm trying to get a closer time frame as to when they're actually going to have the product ready for me. So Again, Life Butta came as a necessity from health issues.
So, Arron, what makes Life Butta different from any other almond butter out there?
If you look at most nut butters, most of them aren't chunky, right? So if you took peanut butter, you're going to have the peanut butter, and then they're going to have some peanut chunks in there, usually. So with Life Butta, right now, it only comes in that one texture, and it's nice and chunky. I call it, it's a chunky chew, right? So you really don't need anything else to eat it with. You can eat it all alone by itself, and it tastes delicious. That's one of the things that I found out. So this whole thing of us dealing with this standard American diet, most healthy foods don't taste good. That's the problem, right? That is leading us down this other ugly pathway. And so if you make something that's healthy, tastes great, people will consume it. And so taking almond butter, which I don't pasteurize it, so it's at a 10-month shelf life. So we're taking the almond butter, and then we blend it in these superfoods, chia seed, flaxseed, which are ground to get nutritional value from them, hemp seed, and pumpkin seed. And all of those have their own vitamin and antioxidant and mineral component, which is fuel that actually fuels the body. And this is the big piece that we've been missing out on, because you hear these terms about what's one of them down in the South. So you're hearing like comfort food and things of that nature. Comfort food is probably what has you in the doctor's office or at the hospital. And that's a question I'm going to be asking people quite often, is what's your relationship to food? Meaning, like for me, I view 80% of my eating as fuel, to fuel my body. I have a mission, I'm out trying to get things done. Am I helping myself or am I hurting myself? And the foods that we consume play a big part in that. And so Life Butta itself, if you look at it and put it alongside of traditional almond butter, you'll see all the seeds. It's nice and bumpy, great texture. People say they love the pumpkin seeds because they're whole. You're crackling on the chia seeds when you eat it, and you get a little bump from the hemp seed. So that texture and the fact that it's superfoods packed with tons of nutrition, it's really great for you.
So, Arron, tell me a little bit about what's the overall mission of Life Butta, and what do you plan to accomplish with Life Butta?
Run-ins, living the standard American diet, eating unhealthy. I would love to help some other people understand that we need to make a lifestyle shift. And I do believe a lot of that is currently going on. If you track social media, you'll see there's a lot of new companies in the health food space, real food, there's all these different hashtags coming out now. But that's what literally I would like to do. Just help some people understand that there's a healthier way of eating, and we can make it taste good, or pretty good at least, to help us get it down. And as the company grows, I would like to do some social things too, especially getting into school with kids and helping them understand that, because if you start them at a young age, then that's kind of all they know, right? Kind of all they know. And we can take these fruits and vegetables too, and we can season them up, because that's the big thing I've learned is the seasoning. Is because if you chop up some beets and push them over to me, no, it's not going to work. But if you season them up well and they're roasted, it's a totally different thing. So we just need to dress up this food. And that's what I feel like I've done with almond butter. I've dressed it up in a healthy fashion and packaged it. And we want to get it out and help people understand that it is fuel in that jar. It's fuel for the body. And again, like I said, taking on a social mission, primarily focused at kids, but I mean, some adults as well, because everybody doesn't understand. That's why the sickness and things have grown the way they have grown. So that is a big part of the mission. Help getting the word out about what we're consuming as foods are contributing to whether we're sick and going to see the doctor, or whether we're out here in the sun living the life.
So production's the co-packer. We found a co-packer. Production's starting to boom. So how can people get Life Butta?
Right now, so once I do get it in hand, or just prior to me getting it in hand, you can hit the website, www.lifebutta.com. We're currently in 2 health food stores, Chuck's Produce locations in Vancouver, Washington. There is a local pop-up online grocery store called Plant-Based Grocery. I'm in talks with them right now. They want to carry the product, so once I get it in hand out, they're here local to Dallas. So it will be floating around here in the area. I'm also going to be working with a young lady. She's in Austin right now. She was part of the Mass Challenge group, so she's in Austin, and she creates what's called Guest Box, which is an upscale gift box with some food items in it, and we plan on being in that box as well. So those are the 3 ways right now. In addition to the website, we're on Instagram and Twitter at Life_Butta, Butta, and on Facebook, Life Butta. You can message me, you can email me, you can call me, and of course, if I don't answer, leave me a message and I'll call you back. Love answering questions. That's how you really get to learn and find out maybe something you don't know. And if I don't know a question that you have, I'll do the research and find out and get back to you.
So let's tie all this together. I'm talking to you today, obviously successful business owner, and you're a veteran. Do you attribute any of your professional successes that you're having today with any of the training or the experiences that you had in the military?
So yes, I do. 100%, I would say. The discipline that was instilled in the military, the mission, stick to it. So it may not be going quite the way you think it's going to go. You have to backpedal a couple of steps, go around, and when you've done that for 10 years like I have, it just kind of feeds into what you're doing. I also learned a lot about contingency plans. The first plan you execute isn't working properly, go back to the drawing board briefly and come up with another plan and reiterate. And that's really all business and entrepreneurship really is anyway. So being in the military, you get conditioned. You don't know it at the time, right? You don't know it because you're just going through the motions and following orders. However, when you get out and you get away from that structure, you'll see what it actually did for you. Because just like, you leave home, you fall back on what you learned at home. And so the same thing with the military. Being there for 10 years, you're gonna pick up some great habits if you're in a space for 10 years. And the military really helped with that tremendously, I would say.
We have thousands and thousands of people getting out of the military every day. What advice do you have for military personnel who are transitioning out of the military into civilian life?
Google. So I would advise them to get on the internet and whatever city or state you're moving to, start searching veteran resources in that area. One of the biggest ones out here right now is Bunker Labs. If I'm not mistaken, I think they have 18 or 20 locations now in various cities, and they have resources to help you start a business, grow a small business. I would definitely go to their website and see if they have a site, an incubator in your city. I would start there with them, and then again, just searching for resources for veterans, because there are tons of these locations popping up. There's a lot of big corporations looking to give back and try and help veterans exiting the military. Jim Rohn, the great Jim Rohn said something. He said that if you work on your job, you can earn a living. If you work on yourself, you can earn a fortune. So if you think about it, the fact that you were in the military, the training, all the money they invested in you in training, build on that. It's called self-improvement. There's audible.com out there, so you can start listening to audiobooks, listen to these podcasts. These podcasts are free, and these people are put on a lot of great content, because you have to work on yourself, because you have to become stronger as you get out here and you're going through and navigating the terrain out here in business. And it's not always easy, and the more you know. The biggest parts for me, and people will come to me and say, oh, well, how do you stick with it and how do you stay at it? Well, I honestly can't tell you the number of hours that I've put in listening. It's more like years. It's been about 5 years of listening to Brian Tracy, Les Brown, Jim Rohn, Barbara Corcoran, you name it, I've probably listened to it. I still read, but I found, of course, listening in the vehicle, long trips, I can consume it a lot faster and consume a lot more of it. But one of the big things you're going to find out is that all of these other people there are no overnight successes, and all these other people had trials and struggles that they went through. And so you'll just begin to understand that when you get out here and you get into this terrain, it's going to be tough to navigate. And another big part of that is that you want to find mentors, great mentors. Working on yourself and having mentors, those are two of the biggest pieces of the puzzle. If you work on both of those, getting great mentors, and see, that's the thing about a mentor too. When they see you doing self-improvement and working on yourself, they're going to say, hey, you know what? I can really get behind him or her, because they're not wasting their time here. They're not going to waste my time. And they're going to understand that that you're focused and you're driven. So give them a reason to want to help you, right? Because if I run across somebody out here in entrepreneurship and I start dropping things like Shark Tank and they're picking up all these different things, then I understand that they're serious about what they plan on doing. If they haven't done any research on their own yet, and they're telling me they want to start a business, and I start this conversation and they know nothing about what I'm talking about, it's going to be a long road. And so I would highly suggest those two things: self-improvement and finding some great mentors, because mentors are going to shorten that learning curve for you. And again, if they are truly invested in you, they're going to make some introductions that would probably take you 5, 6, 7 years to get to.